Today on the Miniature Models Podcast, we're packing our bags and getting on board some of the sleekest passenger trains around. What makes them our favorite trains to collect? Which ones are the ugly ducklings of the group? And what makes them so darn good looking? All this and more. So get your ticket from the station, grab a seat, and make sure you don't miss the train. Board! Good evening, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to episode 72 of the Miniature Models Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, John Schwartz, and with me as always are my co-hosts, Matt Rochford and Johnny. How are you tonight, guys?
I'm doing awesome, John. How you doing?
I am fantastic. Johnny, how you doing?
Fantastic. It's great to be back and to do another episode with you guys.
'Tis indeed. Sadly, Matt Z will not be joining us tonight because of work obligations, but hopefully he'll be able to join us next time. However, in his absence, we have a returning guest to join in the fun, Sid of Sid's Trainz. How are we doing tonight, Sid?
I'm doing good. Good to be back on the show. The last show that I was on was a blast, and I think tonight's going to be fantastic discussing this very sleek conversation and topic.
Yeah, somebody's clever with the words. You did the pun. That's fantastic. We're so glad to have you here, man. Thanks for helping us out with one of our favorite topics this evening. So before we get into the meat of the conversation here, just check in here. What's everybody been up to?
Matt, already want to start off?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So good week so far. I should say the good couple of weeks since we recorded. But this weekend went out to the Wheaton Train Show. Had a great time. Super crowded. Like, I don't think I've seen that many people there in a year at the Wheaton Train Show. This isn't a complaint. Like, this is awesome. It was good to see it. It usually means like the hobby is, healthy, and people are actually leaving their homes and checking out trains. I did pick up something that was on my chase list, thanks to Mr. Johnny here who found it for me. I was able to find in HO Burlington Northern BN1 and BN2. So these are the F9s that are currently at IRM. They're in the Burlington Northern executive scheme. So it was really, really excited to find them with DCC and sound. I've been looking for them for a long time. Never made an O scale, nor do I think they would actually ever be made in O scale. Obviously, you can probably have somebody custom make one. But these were definitely on my want to find these list for sure. So really happy about that. I'll be picking up BN3 probably sometime this year because Rapido is making BN3. So then I'll have the whole set. Other than that, I finished my little pond on my layout. Turned out a lot better than I expected. And now I'm starting to build my little town. So everything is coming along, and I'm having a fun time doing it. Sid, how about yourself, man?
I am doing good. Since the last episode that I was on, school has started back up for me. I'm in my spring semester of this year of school, and everything's going good. Still getting settled into the new schedule and pattern, but everything is going well. Still working on trains. Hopefully soon in terms of social media, I'll have some videos out on my channel, a couple related to the hot topic of Blue Nami, DCC, and then a few other just projects. That's kind of my thing, is doing videos on projects, whether they're mechanical, electrical, restoration, whatever they are. So hopefully I'll have some more videos out here soon. But overall, I am doing good and just going day by day and making the most of every day.
That is fantastic. Johnny, what about you, my good sir?
I'm doing well. Matt R., you are so unbelievably lucky when it comes to those BN executive units. For our non-HO buddies out there, when he says, "Oh, Rapido is making the missing exec unit, the BM3," just for context, they just announced that 2 days ago. So he just bought the E unit or the F units, and then literally a few days later, Rapido's like, "Oh, look, we're making the missing one you wanted." So you got unbelievably lucky with that. So I'm very jealous.
Yeah, no
of
kidding.
you.
It's called fate.
It is, but yeah, as Matt R said, we did go to the Wheaton Train show together, so that was really fun. It's always a blast, and it was so packed. Like you can't walk through there without bumping into somebody. I walked around with our buddy Sean, and we ran into one guy there who was basically he tried to get rid of his O scale, 2-rail O scale collection. And we have a buddy our buddy Rafe at the Train Bunker, just a collector of just cool scale and collectible items. So we were able to get basically the majority of this guy's table for a killer price. And it's all because he was really kind to us and wanted to help us in starting our club. So that was a lot of fun. In terms of the layout itself, I'm currently planning out the back corner of my layout. It's a portion layout that I've been kind of putting off for such a long time, and thanks to Sid poking me and basically telling me I have to get it done before he and John arrive here in Chicago, that's starting to take shape. And yeah, it's just been a lot of fun stuff. I think I'm most excited for an engine that I actually sent out to Sid not too long ago for repairs, which is my new Vision Line Lark. It just needed some tune-ups and some things need to be fixed because those engines had some issues when coming from Lionel. So Sid was able to get that fixed and took some fantastic photos of that engine. And I think I've made him want one. So I don't know how much Sid hates me for that, but Sid, sorry, not sorry, but thank you for fixing the engine for me. John, how about yourself, man? What you been up to?
I have been up to quite a lot in the past couple of weeks. I recently just got a new job, so I'm thrilled about that. It's much better paying than my old one, so I'm extremely happy about that for obvious reasons. Can definitely indulge much more now. But apart from that, haven't done a ton on the train front. I did get recently, I'm sure people have seen, I have acquired, per our topic tonight, I got a Weaver B&O Cincinnatian, which I'm extremely happy about. And then Pat's Trainz just announced his run of matching, the matching MTH or former MTH Atlas cars, which I am super excited about because it's impossible to own that. It has been impossible to own that train up until now. In just like ready to run form without either getting really old Weaver coaches or getting like $3,000 third rail coaches. So there's been no happy medium until now. So I'm super thrilled that I could pick some of those up and can't wait for them to be released. Other than that, I have gone to I went to a train show as well. The Great Scale show in Timonium, which is mostly HO. You would have loved it, Matt R. Oh my gosh, there was so much stuff there.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. And tons. There's so many. Usually, I go to O scale shows, so you get the same layouts, occasionally, which are great to see. You see the same stuff a lot of time. This place, because of how many like different clubs go, and because it's all scales, there was so much interesting stuff. There was 2-rail O. There was tons of HO, really good HO layouts, like, modular clubs, like historical societies, really great stuff. Like there was a beautiful L gauge layout, which for those of you who don't know, L gauge is the really high quality custom built Lego stuff. Might have something interesting coming with that on the podcast later on. Not going to tease too much, but we might have some interesting things down the road for you guys on that. But that was great to see. And other than that, I went there with my buddy Brendan from I Want My MPC. We always go to shows together. Other than that, I swear I'm still working on my two big YouTube videos for the end of the year for 2023. They are coming, I promise. But between that and the new job and everything, it's been busy around my house. But other than that, been feeling great. Everything's moving in a positive direction, so I am feeling good. So yeah, let's stop all the craziness and let's get right into our discussion for tonight, which is Streamliners. Now, this is obviously a multifaceted topic, and everybody has opinions on Streamliners. It's a great thing to share a discussion with, but everybody can talk about different stuff in regards to it. So we're looking for some really good conversation here tonight. I think we're going to find it. Let's start off by defining what a streamliner is. Johnny, you want to go ahead and give us a definition of what a streamliner actually is there? Because there's a lot of, it's kind of a general term.
So this is a very loose definition of a streamliner. This is just more my own interpretation, and you guys feel free to jump in and add what you see fit. But realistically, streamliners kind of came about when there was more competition with airplanes and cars and buses and stuff like that, where the railroads kind of had to make themselves stand out a little bit more and make passenger travel a bit more appealing to the general public. So what better way to grab the public's attention than to make trains look more flashy and sleek and modern? So there was a case where you would put, for a steam engine, for example, you would put a shrouding on it of some sort to make it look more sleek, or to add fluting or stuff like that. It's very reminiscent of the Art Deco style. And it was done to make the train look more appealing and flashy. Not only was that a benefit, but that was also the case of sometimes it would help the train be a lot faster due to the aerodynamics of it. So basically anything that makes a train look a lot faster and basically more sporty looking, that's basically streamlining.
That's a great definition. Exactly. Yeah, it's form and function blended together.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So yeah, I mean, you get a lot with that. I mean, that covers a lot of stuff. I mean, you could say, obviously streamline steam, but you can even argue that, like F units are technically streamlined if you want to go there. I mean, it covers a lot of stuff. So there's definitely a lot we can discuss. So let's start. I mean, what are some streamliners we all love? Let's go. Open up the floor. Let's talk.
How about we just start with the original streamliner to railroading, the Commodore Vanderbilt.
That is an excellent place to begin.
That engine, of course, is a J1E Hudson from the New York Central Railroad, specifically number 5344, the legendary Hudson. And it had this, as they say, bathtub streamlined casing put over it. There's a photo of the engine without the casing on, and all you see are these metal strips running everywhere, and underneath it is just a J1E Hudson. But when you put this shrouding on top of all that, it gives this very aggressive, not really pointy nose, but very angled and aggressive styling to it. And so that's the original American streamlined steam engine. Of course, there's not just steam engines, there are diesels, as you said, but that is the engine that comes to mind when I think of streamlined train in general, is the Commodore Vanderbilt.
Didn't 5344 get streamlined multiple times, or am I thinking of a different engine?
Nope, it did.
Mm-hmm. What else was done to that? I'm not a New York Central guy, so I wouldn't know.
It was the only, I said you can back me up on this too. Was it not the only J1E that also received Dreyfus streamlining, because all the other Dreyfuses were technically J3As, and they were also Super Hudsons?
Yes, that is correct, because the J1E 5344 was originally the Commodore Vanderbilt, and there were different iterations of the Commodore Vanderbilt itself. The casing never really changed all that much, but there were different driver setups, different side rod configurations, and then it was converted into, as you say, the Dreyfus streamline casing to, I believe, pull the Mercury service.
Yes, it was the only one that was I believe the only one that was actually painted differently for the Mercury, because it was a slightly different model of engine. So yeah, it wore a ton of stuff, and that was the one, I believe that I believe that was the one the Smithsonian, I could be wrong on this, was lobbying to have preserved. It could be another number, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think that was the one that they were trying to get preserved, but they got 1401 instead, because they scrapped them, sadly.
That's a shame.
Money's money. It's a different business back then. It's a shame, but sadly, that was the fate of lots of them. Either they were, had their cladding torn off because they weren't really designed with maintenance in mind, or they weren't they just didn't work well, or it was just, they were taken, it was taken off because it was, it just wasn't economical anymore, or it was just scrapped before, preservation was really thought of properly. Because, at that time it was really, it's not like now where, there's the big grassroots movement. A lot of stuff was just, it was company assets. It was, a number on the books, and it was money to be made. There's a lot of money in scrap. So, unfortunately, that was the way a lot of them went. But thankfully, we still have a good amount in preservation, and we can appreciate them in model form as well. So, what else? What's some other stuff other pieces we love? What's some other streamliners?
Looking to expand your collection? Check out Trainz.com. Trainz is your go-to place for new and used model railroad products. They have everything ranging from engines, rolling stock, parts, track, and scenery. If you need it, they probably have it. With new discounts being added daily, you'll be sure to find something you like. Plus, Trainz offers a newsletter which keeps you up to date on new items, discounts, and upcoming promotions. We've been using Trainz for years, and we highly recommend their stellar service. What's really cool is you can also collect points by buying Trainz and using them on future purchases. With their awesome rewards program, you can earn points on every purchase that you can use for future discounts. Dedicated modelers can also join their private card membership to get exclusive access to new listings, earn 5 points per dollar spent, and unlock great benefits like no questions asked returns. Trainz not only sells trains, but also buys them too. If you got a large collection or are interested in downsizing and making some cash, you can head on over to sellmytrains.com. It doesn't get easier than that. You can find them using our affiliate link, www.trainz.com/MMOP, or if you want to use our one-time promo code MMOP, you can get $10 off a single purchase on the Trainz.com website. So check out Trainz.com and start expanding your collection today.
So I'll jump in here. I think everyone kind of knows my pick for a streamliner, and of course that would be good old Santa Fe 3460, which was a 464 Hudson, also known as the Blue Goose. So again, just, really, really interesting and unique looking streamline engine by Santa Fe. And in fact, surprisingly enough, with Santa Fe being, a pretty large, if not one of the largest passenger service railroads over the years, they only had one streamline steam engine, and that was it. It was 3460. And I think the reason, well, it's twofold, really. So the year the kind of Blue Goose was created was the same year that the E1s, the E1 diesels, kind of Santa Fe were put into Santa Fe's collection, so to speak, fleet. And obviously, if anyone knows the E1s, these are very, very, we can call them streamlined too, I guess. But they're just silky, smooth looking diesels. And one of the things with Santa Fe too is that they were early railroad when it comes to purchasing a lot of diesel engines, right?
Oh yeah, they were trendsetters for sure.
Yeah. So I think that's probably why the limitation of only having one streamlined steam engine is that, most of Santa Fe's at that point, most of Santa Fe's passenger services was just moving or migrating over to diesels, because then you had E1s and you had F3s and then E6s, and it just, at that point, E and F units galore. And at that point, those just were such a heavy hitter for Santa Fe, that, the beautification of, these streamline stream engines just, wasn't practical for Santa Fe. But I'm happy, trust me, I'm happy that they had one. So, and I do own it in well, I did own it in O, and I obviously currently own it in HO. So it's an engine that will always be in my collection, no matter what scale I'm in. And then, of course, it retired in 1956, and I think it was destroyed. So, unfortunately, it no longer exists. Not even something that could get back on the rails, unless somebody decides to actually recreate it, which I'm all for.
you could restore the existing, was one of the surviving Santa Fe Hudsons. There is one around.
You
It's-
could, yeah, that's true.
Yep,
You
you
could
could
convert
definitely-
it. Yeah.
There you
yeah.
go. The Blue Goose is such a beautiful piece. It's a beautiful engine. It's kind of an odd one if you really think about it. Santa Fe is so aggressively war bonnet
Yep.
that when you see their publicity photos for the Blue Goose, it is just surrounded by war bonnet F units.
Yes,
It's so out
exactly.
of place. It never had a matching train to go with that was put into
No.
revenue service, and it was always just pulling either a mix of streamlined cars or like the mail train, or it's just always very odd concepts for an engine like that. And I don't think it ever got a chance to properly shine with a dedicated train. It'd be amazing if it was, but it's a very beautiful train for sure.
Even the color itself, like, robin's egg blue.
It's so uncommon.
Yeah, it's so weird.
That is like, is that what you think when people are like, hey, what should we paint this streamlined steam engine? I don't know. How about robin's egg blue?
Maybe
You
it
know?
was maybe the day the idea came up was Easter or something.
That's a very good point.
Eggs
good
were on
point.
the mind.
But I think what's kind of cool about it is it made it super unique
Oh,
and
yeah.
memorable, right? Because when
yeah.
somebody
Yes.
says, if anybody says Blue Goose,
Yeah.
people know what that is.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah.
I think we definitely have the models to thank for that too, because I had no
Yeah,
idea
that's
that
true.
thing existed until MTH came out with one. I was like, "What the
Yeah.
heck is this?"
And it's funny you were talking about a railroad and just in general how they switched to diesel so early and they didn't have very many streamlined steam. Well, and just streamliners in general. Well, there's a railroad that sticked in steam for a very long time, and they had a lot of streamlined steam, and that of course is the Norfolk and Western with their J-class Northerns, and then they have their K-class streamlined mountains. And of course, everybody knows the 611 that still exists today, the Queen of Steam. Not sure why it has that name to it.
I've never understood. I've never
Even as
understood
a
that name
even as
either.
a big NNW fan, I'm like, what? But hey, but yeah, everybody knows that, and that's another. It's interesting because a lot of the streamlined steam specifically that people talk about, they're really small engines, relatively speaking. They're Pacifics, they're Hudsons, but then there's a few oddballs. There's some big Northerns that are streamlined. The J being one of them, and the J's weren't originally, streamlined. There was the unshrouded J, and then the K class mountains are just baby J's. They're not J's. They just have very similar streamlined casing to them. But of course, the J's are much more well known because of 611 and Lionel with their models through the post-war, the Fundimensions era, and now the modern era, and MTH as well. And but it is interesting to see larger Northerns that are streamlined. And I know there's somebody in this group here who loves their streamlined or maybe semi-streamlined Northerns. I don't know who that could be.
No
I don't
idea.
know. I don't
Definitely
know.
not
knows?
orange.
I like 060Ts, man. I don't like anything else.
Oh my god.
Well, kind of piggybacking off what you said, Sid, the J's are also fantastic engines. It's one of those engines I've kind of begrudgingly become more of a fan of because of being friends with so many East Coasters after a certain period of time. But it's just so sleek looking. It's one of those things
is.
where something about a Northern with roller bearing rods just makes it look
Yes.
so mean.
They always improve it. It's so nice.
They do. They do.
Even
They
the K's look
Mhm.
great. I mean, not to cut you off here, Giant, but I just got to say the K's are extremely close to my heart because I think just by geographic location, that was like those ran like right near me on freight trains and mixed trains, no less. And I am, as you know, with me, I adore weird consists. So anytime streamliners are put out of their comfort zone with like freight, or like you would said, Matt R, with the Blue Goose with mail trains, like I eat that stuff up. I love it. It's fantastic. And even Johnny with like the what we're gonna get in with you. I mean, they did everything on your railroad. Please continue.
Yeah, to kind of go off of what John and Sid are talking about, obviously for listeners of the show, I'm a big daylight enthusiast. I love Southern Pacific's daylight. It's what got me into trains. The daylight was a train that came out during the Depression. Actually, SP created the daylight to try to get itself out of the Depression and to get people traveling on trains again. And you can't get better than that paint scheme in terms of brightness and vibrance. The black, the red, the orange. It's quite literally the colors of of daylight. And the engines that they made with it were, I think, just quintessentially just one of the nicest streamliners out there. The skyline casing, the skirting on the side of the engine, whether it's a GS2 with the single headlight or the GS4 with the dual headlight, it's fantastic. It was Southern Pacific's flagship train and was so popular that they had to make different spin-offs. There was the morning daylight, the noon daylight, the Shasta daylight, the San Joaquin daylight. They even had offshoots of those streamline engines. You had semi-streamline MT4s. The Sunbeam is another one. The P10, which is another engine, and then it just kept going until the late 60s. Just daylight on everything, and I just love how those engines look. And because the 4449 survived into preservation, it also lends itself into other paint schemes. We know it looks great in daylight, but when it was restored for the Freedom Train, I mean, the T1 looked fantastic and all the other engines that pulled the Freedom Train. But with the daylight, the way that the red, white, and blue just worked with that skirting just made it really pop. As well as for BNSF for Matt R too, when they put it all jet black.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. It's such a cool scheme.
The only BNSF steam engine ever made.
Exactly. Well, you got SPNS 700 with that weird Vandy tender that's in BN green.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
That does count.
But yeah, those engines survived very long into their lives. As John mentioned, they were daylight and for the first portion of their lives, and until the war happened, Second World War happened, and Southern Pacific being a major carrier for the Pacific Theater. So after that, the engines were painted all black to make it more utilitarian. The side skirts were removed for ease of maintenance, and in fact, the railroad even changed their name so that the War Production Board would let them make more of them. GS originally stood for Golden State, but then they was changed to General Service because Golden State seemed too luxurious and expensive for the War Production Board. They're like, no, you guys can't make more of those engines. Those are passenger engines. So they basically removed all the fanciful bits, called them General Service, and that's how the GS6 came to existence. It was a very stripped down utilitarian version that was even sold off to Western Pacific with their GS64s, which they put smoke deflectors on. And was it? I think was Central Georgia. I think, or one of the southern railroads got one of their own. They called it the Big Apple, and they converted it to coal and de-streamlined it. So the GS has served a very long time, even into after they were pushed aside by diesel, running commuter trains or hauling freight trains until the very end. So they were basically SP's warhorse. Even when they were only semi-streamlined, the worst that was done to them was they just took the paint off and took the skirts off, and they still ran them until the end of their time.
Those are my favorite iterations of them when they get some of the cladding taken off. They're still kind of daylightish. Whenever they kind of look like the MTs, the mountains, they have that kind of half daylight look. I love that so much.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. It's really odd to see, like you said, just seeing streamliners just being repurposed. It's kind of sad when Rare doesn't really use them anymore after the end of their passenger service. When you see them being really just ran to pieces as a freight locomotive or a commuter locomotive, and you really get to see how the engine performs. That's really cool to me. I love modeling that era.
Oh yeah, you get to see the way that the mechanics had their way with them, taking bits off. They'll have the cladding around, like the Blue Goose. I mean, you see photos of that. I love the way the Blue Goose looks way later in its life when it has all the cladding around the cylinders gone and the firebox is gone. It's just that kind of like straight running board look where you can see all the machinery underneath. Same thing with the Dreyfuses. You get that a lot. So
the de-skirted Blue Goose is so cool rather than the full skirted one, because that's the MTH one is with skirts, but I think Matt R, yours is the Broadway that's been partially de-skirted, correct?
Correct. That is correct.
Oh, I'm so jealous of you. I hate you so much.
I was so I bought Rochford's Blue Goose in O scale, and I was really content with it. And then I went to see his HO version. I looked at mine. I'm like, his is cooler. I'm so conscious of mine now. So now that engine's moved on to someone else. But also, the thing that he has on his model that I'm so envious of, and I think maybe some of the later versions might have it. I'm not sure. I can't tell if it's like stock or something that Lou's modified. The stack extension on the top, the O scale version didn't have that, and it's such a odd piece because you associate those with Santa Fe Northern so much, or like the Texas, where it's got that extended smokestack.
Yep.
And then you see that on a Streamlined engine. It's so out of place, but it's so aggressively Santa Fe at the same time.
Aggressively. That's fantastic.
Aggressively.
Santa Fe! All the way! God, yeah, it is aggressively Santa Fe, and my gosh, there's tons of great. I mean, we get pretty spoiled with Streamliners and O, but man, there's some great stuff you can get in HO and other scales as well.
Oh yeah,
you guys are lucky, Matt, with your nicer ones.
It's funny. It's funny you say that, John, because in S scale, one of the most popular models made by American Flyer was a Streamliner, and it was a B&O prototype, the Royal Blue.
Yes, it was.
And I guess piggybacking off that, we can talk about one of my favorite Streamliners being the Cincinnatian, the P7D. It was a P7 Pacific that was, of course, streamlined and painted in this very pretty B&O dark blue with, I guess you could call it, striping. It was this very interesting paint scheme that I love, and we both own the engine, and we in O scale from Weaver, and then we both have ordered the new cars from Atlas, and so I'm really excited to see the cars come in and see how the engines and cars look together.
Me too, man. Don't make me talk about the Cincinnatian.
Oh no,
anything but that. Yeah, no, it's such a. I'm personally not a gigantic fan of the original Royal Blue. It's very cool, but it's not as good as the Cincinnatian, in my opinion. That was very much a refined design. Also, one thing I love about the Cincinnatian was it was not designed by any one of like the super famous and well known Streamliner designers like Otto Kohler or Henry Dreyfuss or Raymond Loewy. It was designed by number one, a woman, which is fantastic, who was just a regular employee designer on the B&O. Olive, I believe her name was Olive Dennis, and she came up with the design for it for the entire train.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I love that fact about that train. It just makes it so much nicer, and it's one of the most beautiful designs. Not just the style of the engine, that's fantastic in and of itself. Because sometimes Streamliners can be a little ungainly looking, even when they're really cool. Like the Blue Goose. Like you look at it, it's an amazing design, but it's not like you could tell it's not as like smooth. Like it's an interesting look. It's very cool, as Jeremy Clarkson taught us. Not that the Blue Goose is ugly, but ugly can be cool. It is cool to have something that's ugly. So ugly, it's cool. So like not just that, but the paint on the Cincinnatian is so.
Yes.
It looks like it's moving even when it's standing still.
Exactly.
That's what's so cool about it.
That was also like, I don't want to call it a unit train, but that train was a very specialized set. The cars were also a very interesting story, how they were converted heavyweights, and they were very, very stylized. What were there, 5 of them or so?
The entire consist or the cars?
The cars.
That's I do not remember how many consists there were. I know there were 4, I believe there were 4 engines. It was 53 01 to 5304, I believe, were the engines, or it was 5300 to 50, I don't remember. No, it was 5300, 5301 to 5304.
I think it was like each set was, I think, 5 cars
yes, 5 or 6 cars, yeah. A dedicated,
it was all put together. Yeah, and when you put it all together, it looks like one kind of semi-permanently connected unit train, which was really cool. And I'm actually looking at it on my wall, and I thought of this when talking about the Cincinnatian as talking about a semi-permanently connected unit train. I got this whole set in O scale recently from Third Rail, it's the Mercury, the original, New York Central Mercury engine, and the cars. The engine's very interesting. It's, it doesn't look like a Commodore Vanderbilt. It doesn't look like a Cincinnati. And like, it's this very strange, I don't want to say wedge shape. It kind of looks like a slug. It's
It's
kind
a
of weird.
bathtub. Like people joke that
It
the
is a
Commodore's a
bathtub,
bathtub.
but it's this very interesting engine and car combo, and the cars are probably the most interesting part. I know nothing about these cars, but they don't look like your normal streamlined cars. They don't look like heavyweights. They're just this very unique car, and so when you put it all together, looking at it in photos and in model form, it's just this big unit train that's all streamlined. It looks like one encased unit. And there's a cool kind of fact about the Mercury. There's a photo going around out there. I think it's in Syracuse, going down the main street.
Oh yeah,
It's just
super
such
circulated photo.
it's such a cool photo to imagine, like being on the main street in Syracuse and just seeing this massive train come through the town. Like there's like cars right next to the engine. It's so close. That's just kind of a cool little piece of history that luckily was, preserved in the picture form.
Exactly. I have to make sure I don't talk too much about New York Central and B&O. I don't want to monopolize this, because I will. If given free reign, I will absolutely just talk nonstop about them. But interesting parallel, I actually just learned recently. Most people may know the Mercury is not actually my favorite New York Central Streamliner, despite being, again, it's that thing very much where I think it's ugly. It's extremely ugly, but I don't hate it. Like, I'm not hating on the train. That's my opinion on it. I think it's incredibly cool. Again, the Jeremy Clarkson thing. That's the best case of so ugly it's cool. And it's not a good look. And people even back then were sometimes not a fan of it. But you look at like any to your point, Sid, about the photo, you look at like any one of like the layperson videos about streamlined trains on like YouTube or anything, or just circulating in like design groups on Facebook, that train comes up all the time because it is so just outlandish and crazy looking.
It's very crazy.
It's got like a cult following among like the normies. And fun fact that I just learned this, I think like this week, the Cincinnati and the Mercury, the original Mercury, had a lot in common in that they were not like built from scratch, like say, the Jays or the Daylights, where they were designed to be streamlined, or the Blue Goose even. They weren't designed to be streamlined from the start. They were the Mercury was built, the coaches, the reason they look kind of strange, they're converted commuter coaches. That's why they look that way. They were converted original New York Central commuter coaches, and the engine is it's not even a Hudson. It's a K5B Pacific. The two that were made, the two train sets, one, westbound, one eastbound, were just, again, those dedicated consists. And just like with the Cincinnati, and they ran, normally you don't see consists that are like, solid, good looking, apart from a few trains where they like were together all the time, like the Century, the Cincinnati, and that you don't usually see that a lot, like, or the Daylight. You usually, they're usually hodgepodges, especially near the end. So it's really cool to see those dedicated consists.
Like you make a good point there of like ones that were never purpose built, or like had portions of other things that were repurposed. And I think this is a good transition to, because we had a really heavy focus on Steam tonight, but one that I think is just we hinted at this earlier, that is kind of just an ugly duckling kind of thing. What the heck is going on with the Aero Train, man? Why is that thing so
weird, isn't it? The bus train.
The bus train. It's like combining Greyhound bus with Studebaker and so many strange combos. I've seen
vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, oh my gosh, vacuum cleaner. Yes, I saw the one. I don't know if there's multiple that still exist, but I saw one of them in St. Louis when I was at the National Transportation Museum. They were restoring it, but it was sitting over on a sidetrack, and it's so funky looking. It's got this like, it's got a mouth at the front. It's so strange.
if some of the weirdest photos I've seen of the Aero train have to be like, I think when they were in Rock Island service, and it's just the two Aero train like head end units back to back like they're AAs. It's so weird looking.
It's very strange.
But they have such a big like impact. You have to keep in mind also so many railroads trialed it. I think I know Pennsy trialed it.
Yeah.
Pennsy, Central,
Santa Fe actually too.
Did they really?
Yeah,
It's the most traveled Streamliner.
Union Pacific as well.
I did not know Santa Fe did. That's awesome.
There's I think Matt, or you might have seen these too, but like them going over like, was it Cajon with helper units because they couldn't get up Cajon.
Yeah.
So, and those things went everywhere. Heck, just think of it this way: even Disney had their own version of the train in miniature that they ran around for a bit.
That's right. I forgot all about that too. Oh my gosh. That's a very iconic look. You're absolutely right. That's like quintessential like 50s kind of Atom punk when you think of train. That's not even diesel punk. That's Atom punk.
For sure. Actually, I'm going to throw this over to Matt, or I'm going to put him on the spot. Matt, since we're talking about diesels and you're the diesel guy, is there a specific streamlined diesel that you really like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Pioneer Zephyr is definitely on the very top of my list for true to form streamlined diesel engines. Now, of course, we can't forget M10000s. M10000s were actually the first streamlined diesel engines. However, Pioneer Zephyrs beat them to service. So the Pioneer Zephyrs were actually the first in service as a streamlined diesel engine. But there's just something about that engine that just looks so cool. It's like this, I don't know if it's like a bullet going down the tracks, or
it's pretty close.
Yeah, it just has this styling to it that you're like, that it's just like, I don't know. It's always been really cool to me, and obviously I've been pretty lucky because it's still here, that here at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. And anybody that comes here, I say you got to go to the museum and you got to check out the Pioneer Zephyr there, because they have it cleaned up and it's just beautiful to take pictures of and see it, and you can go inside and there's no more goat in there. What's the goat? That's gone. Sorry, folks. But
yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
No, but no. Again, just really lucky to have that here as a part of Chicago, because obviously it was, Burlington Railroad, Burlington Pioneer Zephyr. Yeah, just really, really cool streamlined diesel engine. And obviously I've owned it again in multiple scales. Actually, I'm looking for an NHO, which I mean, it's out there. I'm just waiting to find the one that I want. But yeah,
the thing that I'm sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
Yeah, so just for context for anybody who is going, what? No goat, what the heck? So for anybody who's been to the Museum of Science and Industry in the past, maybe like I think 10 years at this point.
Yeah.
The Zephyr is located in the main lobby. Right now it's a free exhibit, so you don't have to pay to get into the museum. You just walk downstairs and you'll see the whole thing, and it's in its own little almost like tunnel almost. And the thing is super polished and pretty. But back in the day, I remember this because I went on this tour as a kid. It used to be a paid tour where they had filled it with animatronics to simulate passengers and stuff on the train. In the baggage car, there was an animatronic donkey called Zephyr, and he would talk to you.
Donkey,
I remember that.
And he would talk about. He's like, "Well, I'm Zephyr, and I rode on the Zephyr during its initial run. It was uncanny valley. It's like creepy.
It sounds kind of cringe too. Not to use that word.
Well, you'd walk through the cars. One of the coaches were full of people, like statues of people with speakers in their chests, who would talk about like the first trip, and then in the observation car, which is such a shame because it's the observation car, it was full of like an animatronic family of like, I think one of like the president of Burlington or something along those lines. And they would talk to you, and all the windows were TV screens showing like clips from the trip or just random things they were talking about, like Americana from that time. It was, oh my god, it was awful. The coolest thing about it was that the train would rock and simulate the train moving.
Mm-hmm.
Sid, you experienced this as a kid, didn't you?
I've been to Chicago. I'm well traveled to Chicago. I've been to Chicago probably like a dozen times, and I remember that. I remember being really young and just being in and just like feeling the whole train just kind of shake and rock. And it was kind of funny watching it from the outside because if you went and stood at the front, the engine, I don't think the engine itself actually was hooked up to any like, airbags or anything, but you would just see it kind of moving because of the rest of the train moving. It was definitely fun, but the characters talking and it was a little cheesy.
I'm just picturing this because I apparently I missed this because I went to when I saw the Zephyr, I was really little. Like this was like I think I was still in elementary school. I was like a long time ago. I don't think they had this imposed because I remember I think I barely could just go into the cab of the Zephyr. Like,
oh, yep, they still are the same way.
Yep.
Yeah. But God, I'm just picturing like the dialogue of these characters like, say, Jimmy, we're going over 30 miles per hour. This is astonishing.
It's like wax museum stuff.
What do you think, Zephyr?
Oh jeez.
No offense to donkeys, but could they have picked a more like appealing animal for
why not like
slowest animal?
Why not like a dog or like a cat or
I don't look at the Pioneer Zephyr and be like, you know what? That's kind of like a donkey.
Did they actually carry a donkey? Is that why they did it? Like, was there a donkey on the?
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense. But still, though, it's like that's like not a fast animal.
I mean, what else are you gonna have? This is Zephyr the gerbil. It's like.
This is Zephyr the roly-poly bug.
Donkey.
What are you doing in my train?
But it is a beautiful, like, roasting the old exhibit aside, it is they've emptied it of all the cheesy the cheesy effects, and you can just walk through the full train that's been restored. But that engine does have a special place in my heart as a Chicagoan. I mean, heck, I had my prom close to that engine. We are at the Museum of Science and Industry for my senior prom.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
It has and they sat us around the layout and all that. But lots of cool memories. And it's just, I mean, Sid, when you saw it with us last year,
it was very cool. Definitely brought back a lot of memories, and that was my two favorite exhibits when going there as a kid was the Zephyr. And then obviously the train layout upstairs with the New York Central 999 next to it because trains.
But
yeah, no, it was definitely cool to see that again last year.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of just finishing up on this too in terms of like early streamlined diesels. We talk about the M10,000. That's iconic, even for like the Lionel, the classic Lionel era of seeing that made. And the City of Denver was another one. That one,
that's my favorite one of the early ones. I love the way that thing looks. Oh my god,
that's just a fantastic one. How about you guys? What streamlined diesels do you guys really like?
Well, there's definitely it's funny. I'm gonna have to come back to Steam at some point because somebody I know will not let me live it down if I don't.
No, they won't.
But we're talking about old diesels right now. Let's jump a little forward. There's two major diesel-based and electric-based streamliners that come to mind. One of which being the Turbo Train, which I guess was owned by several railroads through the years. What was it? Penn Central, and then Amtrak.
Yep, Canadian National, Via Rail.
National,
that was a big Canadian thing.
Very strange looking streamliner, and also a not really awful model, but a awful model to operate in no scale. They don't work. Tethers, but and then there's the modern day American streamliner that comes to mind, which is the Amtrak Acela. How could I not bring up the Acela? It runs through my state. I saw it as a kid all the time when I was with my uncle on his boat. It went across the river we were on, and it, of course, I know it's funny I'm talking about this and they're slowly phasing it out for a new version of it, but the Amtrak Acela is like the childhood dream. Like, that's so cool. It's this modern, super fast streamliner, and if I'm being honest, it always seemed like it was more about the fact that it was electric than it being a streamliner. But it's still a very, very interesting looking consist.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
the first time like I got to ride on the Acela as a kid, the only time I ever rode on the Acela, I was like, I'm a celebrity. Like, I have arrived. I am Warren Buffett Jr. Like, now we begin the future. Like, that was the attitude. And I remember when they came out, like you said, I mean, I remember those being like, whoa, this is the new thing. It's pointy. And now that they're retiring them, I love the look of the new ones. I know people hate on the new ones. I love the way the new ones look. But yeah, that was like you said, that was like the childhood dream of like, that was the future.
From like an engineering cool standpoint of things, like the cars articulate as you go around a curve, like they lean, and it's just so cool. And then obviously in real life this isn't really that big of a deal. Obviously the doors open, think about that. But no, in model form, of course, you then have the Lionel TMCC and the legacy versions of the Acela, but the TMCC version has the doors that open and they're animated, and that was just such a cool thing. And all the models being made and then seeing in real life just made it even more of just this like wow factor for me.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna bring up another thing that Matt and I did. I think it's a really unique experience, and I think if anybody gets a chance to do it, 100% go for it. It's worth the money. Having dinner on the Nebraska Zephyr on a full vintage streamlined passenger train, and getting to enjoy a classic, white linen service on a streamliner was so freaking cool. It never fails to impress people every time we take people to the IRM for the first time, and you just hear the bell as the Zephyr comes past, and it's just giant, sleek silver train with the beautiful E unit at the front. Just being able to not only see one of those in person, but to actually ride behind it and see it operate is fantastic. I know you guys out in Baltimore have your own beautiful E unit that was recently restored. If you guys want to talk about that, or if Matt wants to talk about the Zephyr.
Can't ride on it though. I mean, it's gorgeous to look at, but you guys are so lucky to have IRM out in the middle. You have the nation's biggest railroad museum for one, and it operates, and you can operate everything there. It's so nice.
Well, speaking of IRM, that is home to one of the only streamlined interurbans ever made.
Yes.
Oh,
that's
my
our
God.
electroliner.
Yes. The
North Shore electroliner was a streamlined electric interurban. So yeah, really, really cool looking, almost very Pioneer Zephyr-ish, if that's the way to, if you want to put
shovel
it that
nose.
way.
It's a shovel nose. Yeah, that's in the family.
Yep.
I love the electroliner so much. I'm so glad you brought that up. I completely forgot. Okay, not just the way it looks, but the paint scheme on that turquoise with the orange. Oh my gosh. And I mean, those things were forgive me if I don't remember. Do they operate that out there?
Yes, they do.
It's currently,
oh my God.
I think cosmetically on the exterior it's finished. I think there's still some things internally in terms of like power that need to be still fixed. They're currently working on the restoration of the interior. Matt and I got to walk through it actually. You forget that thing has a diner. You never think about that.
Oh my
gosh.
But
it does.
Yep.
Wow.
And they were they were selling the menus of the original,
that's right.
They're selling the menus for that particular train, and I think you can even buy the blend of coffee from the electroliner or the gift shop too.
That is so cool. North Shore, just all you guys have such cool stuff in Chicago. I do get jealous of all the neat stuff you guys have because we don't have. I mean, Sid, you can attest to this. We didn't really have any cool interurbans really out here. Like you got like there's cool trolleys and stuff, and you got like the Red Arrow lines. But apart from that, like there's
what's the one that sits up in Orbazonia at the trolley museum?
The Red Arrow one.
The Red Arrow was one of the Electroliners.
It was the other.
It was sold to Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Okay.
That makes sense why it's in Orbazonia.
Yeah.
It has a very similar look. It sits inside a barn. It's actually, I think cosmetically, it's it's a little like dirty, but it's not bad. But I don't.
It's a little rough.
I don't think it operates. A lot of stuff up there operates. Like half of their barn operates, but I don't think that operates.
I think it does actually, because for a weird time, like the one in IRM looked great, but it didn't run, and then the one in Pennsylvania didn't look good, but it did run. So we had each had half of the Electroliner.
Yeah.
if I may divert for a quick moment on the Electroliner, thank God you brought this up. I'm so glad you remembered to talk about that. My favorite story about that. Matt, do you guys know the story of like when they were first tested on speed trials?
I can't recall.
Okay, so real quick story here. My favorite thing about those trains, those things were so fast, to the point where it was like a safety hazard. When they were testing those, I don't remember if it was already in service or they were putting it in service for like a publicity stunt. It was the only time they permitted the thing to go full speed. They gave they allowed the traction motors full field shunt. So that means like the motors were given unrestriction, able to go to their maximum speed. The thing was going so fast that it was beating the crossing gates down at the road crossings. It was getting there before they were fully down.
I remember you telling this story.
Yeah.
That's
those
insane.
Things, they could go on the loop too. Aren't there photos of it on the elevated section?
It actually did. Yep.
God, you have such cool
because
stuff out there.
Not only is it equipped with trolley poles, it was also equipped with shoes, electric shoes.
We have downgraded, and this topic of Streamliners always brings this up in my mind. We have downgraded so much as a society in the way we travel. It is abysmal. Like, not to put on a sour note, but isn't it just sad? Like I'm imagining when you had dinner in the Zephyr. Like, doesn't that just and then you have to drive home in your car. It's like, you have to get on a plane and be bullied. You have to deplane.
Use one streamlined Nissan Rogue.
It's so funny you say that, John, because the other evening you and I had a discussion about planes. Like everything has, if it at some point was really, fancy, it's just gone down for an assortment of reasons.
Yeah. Look at photos of a Constellation aircraft and
look at that. And imagine being on a plane or a train. Like the Acela to this day, and originally when it first came out, it had this vibe. Imagine sitting in a seat where it's so big and cushiony, you feel like you're in like Emperor Palpatine's chair. You're in this. You have your own throne in classic luxurious rail, plane, whatever it is, travel. And Streamliners probably brought that in to trains even more because you want it to be more flashy. The streamlined passenger cars or the heavyweights were very luxurious. You look underneath these passenger cars and you look at the engines, and they have all these accessories to make things more luxurious. Pumps, air conditioning units, so many things that just added to the luxury. And then you combine that with this Art Deco look, and it's just like, wow, where is it all gone?
We don't get that sense of amazement. Like, when was the last time you guys went out and were amazed by seeing something in transport? Like Matt, like you said with the Pioneer Zephyr. Imagine you've lived your whole life behind smoky coal steam engines that go maybe, I don't know, maybe you're traveling at 40, 50 miles an hour. Not that steam isn't fast, but I'm talking humdrum little Atlantics and, 10-wheelers that are just tootling around. And then this freaking spaceship to toodle.
I had to breathe.
Just to toodle off. I'm glad you did. And then this freaking spaceship comes down the track at, 80 something miles an hour. it would blow your mind to see something like that. And
Absolutely.
I feel we don't get that anymore. Like Concorde is the last thing that was like, oh my god, that's like insane. Like, we're going faster than the speed of sound. Like, you don't get that anymore. I feel it's such a loss for the world. I'm done with the being bummed out. But like,
so I'm gonna pivot a little bit, and I'll probably go and start to walk back toward the East Coast again.
Please.
So I'll probably help drive this topic, but I did want to mention one really cool East Coast streamline engine that I like, and actually I do own an HO, and that would be the Pennsylvania T1 duplex. So which has this really unique spaceship torpedo looking
shark nose.
Shark nose. Yeah, that it's so freaking cool looking.
It's like a knife.
And that's interesting you say that, Sid, because I'm sure obviously it was made by Baldwin, and Baldwin's also made the Sharks, diesel Sharks, so I'm sure this was like a some type of I don't know what you want to call
parallel. It was the inspiration. They were the
inspiration.
Yeah,
correct.
No, they were.
Yeah, but just a really awesome looking steam engine. I just I don't really collect Pennsylvania stuff, but this is definitely one that I wanted to have.
The T1 is definitely a so-called showstopper. Everybody knows about the T1 for multitude of reasons, whether it be just the looks or the fact that now they're building one from scratch or mostly scratch. There's a few components that are existing Pensy equipment from the past that they're redoing, but that's definitely probably the most popular Pensy East Coast massive streamlined steam engine, because it's just this. It's not really actually that big per se compared to just I think there's some northerns that are the same size, but it's just the case of it's a duplex. There's all these wheels, so many wheels. No, and it's just you combine that with it also changed a lot. John, you I don't know how much but I think there was like the original Lowy design. Then there's the first in-service version, which was slightly de-streamlined, and then the final iteration, which is just the fully unskirted. You can see all the air pumps, all the running gear, everything. That's the one that I think they're restoring now.
Yep, Lowy loved
building.
yeah, exactly. Lowy loved making it hard for mechanics to do their job.
Looks at torpedo.
Yes. Yeah. Just the way they move too, that kind of jaunty little way that they move, because it's a northern, but it's a northern that's split in half. It's not an articulated either. It's like you get four sets of drivers, but not articulated, and that fun little kind of the way they just look when they're running. They have a kind of a happy run to them when they look. It's like they're running.
It's like having two Atlantics. They waddle. They're like,
yes. I don't really, sir.
So I actually have a question. Going back a letter in the alphabet here, is the S1 the largest streamlined steam engine ever made?
I would say
probably.
Yes, because it's also. Correct me if I think it's. I think this is true. It's the largest, I believe, steam engine ever in terms of length.
Yeah, largest rigid frame. I think
rigid frame, but it's also it's longer than the big boy. It was longer. It was like a.
Because of its tender.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the tender is.
Not the big boy still has it on the engine. Adding the Greyhound bus tender on the back.
I can hear all the Pennsylvanian Pensy fans just going, "Well, the tender's still part of the engine."
I know. I wanted to note that.
Yeah, oh no! It's good to know. Like it's funny. It's funny seeing it next to like in model form the big boy, because it's like. You wouldn't think like there's nothing bigger than a big boy. Like the big boy is the biggest thing of all. But like there's this massive rigid frame torpedo style duplex, and it's just huge. It's just an oversized version of the torpedo, which was the more traditional K4
That was streamlined, and I love the torpedo. It's this classic streamlined design. Sort of, I say classic. It's very traditional, and it's it's got a very round front, kind of like the Cincinnatian. It's not a bathtub, just kind of oval shape. It's got a little bit of class to it because that's usually what Lowy would do. And I got a model of it years ago, and I think they've made a ton of models in HO and over the years. And there's actually two versions of the torpedo. There's the Lowy version, then I don't know who designed the other one. I call it the non-Lowy version.
I actually like as much as I love the Lowy. I love the way that you can definitely see how they improved on his design by like actually leaving the machinery accessible. But I love those. I just call them non-Lowy K4s. I don't think there's an official name for them, but just streamlined K4. I love those so much. Everybody kind of loves the Penzi stuff, even except for Johnny. Just like and we'll get on the hate train later, I'm sure. But yeah, it's so cool seeing just the way that they loved experimenting with design. The cool thing about, you can see like the different designers, the way that they kind of, would blend design. Lowy always liked covering machinery and accentuating the horizontal of a design.
Yeah.
Henry Dreyfuss would always keep machinery as part of the design, skull and drivers, the big roller bearing rods, and he would accentuate the vertical of a design.
The fins. Everything about was him with the fins, and just
Mm-hmm.
the headlight was always like this. It was this center point that there were all these lines coming off of it.
Yes.
With the Dreyfuss, with the
it was much
the Empire J3As.
It was like a part of the engine rather than being, we put this over we hid the engine. No, we're making the engine the actual artwork. That's why I like Dreyfuss a little bit better for that. But Lowy is just so iconic. And Lowy did all kinds of stuff. Lowy did, like the, Sid, what your car guy? What's the Avante? What's that one car? You know what I'm talking about? It's a very iconic looking car, big sloping front, big headlights.
I can't remember the model name.
Yeah, he did a ton of stuff like that. Not just toasters. Same with Dreyfuss. He did telephones.
Was it Lowy that did the GG1 and the Coke bottle?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Both the GG1's kind of, it's streamlined. It's just like it's if a box cab had rounded ends, it's like the center is just a box cab, but then the ends are that very shaped. And I guess you could probably say that GG1 is the most well-preserved streamliner, because there's so many of them.
A million of the darn things. Yeah.
What is there, like 6 of them or something?
No, there's more than that. I think it might be double digits. I could be wrong.
Oh wow!
There's even when you count like the wrecked ones that are are rusting to nothing. But I'm jealous of what you guys have out in the Midwest. The freaking Little Joe, because that's technically streamlined in my opinion. That counts.
Those are such fun looking engines. Like I the main reason I like them is just because we have one out here in the Midwest. But the Joe is just a beauty. We had a chance to see Little Joe run for maybe 60 seconds after waiting 4 hours in the sun, rain, everything. Speaking of a last ship of the century, like I said before in past episodes, IREM did their 70 for 70 event where they used 70 pieces of operating equipment to commemorate 70 years of being around. Their finisher was the Little Joe pulling the GG1 and the AEM7 behind it.
Yeah. The toaster.
The toaster.
So you know what they say.
It's just and plus the horn is just really cool in that engine.
Oh, so it's a great horn.
The fact that it operates still, even after all these years, I think the last time it operated was 10 years prior, and it was still going. So those are cool, and you see those. They're massive. They're massive electrics. They're huge.
Oh yeah, they're gigantic. He's crushing.
Oh yeah, and you see those street running in old photos, in old videos. Those things are street running.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. I think I could be getting the story wrong. This is just hearsay, but there was a story that after they were called Little Joes, for anybody who doesn't know, because they were originally meant to be sent to Russia, but government said no, can't sell those to Russia. So they were stuck in the States. So they got the name Little Joe from Joseph Stalin.
Mhm.
Well, they were meant to go to the Milwaukee Road, but Milwaukee Road didn't want to pay the full price. So they're like, well, no one else wants these things, so we're just going to play hard to get, and they'll eventually lower the price. We'll get them for cheaper.
Milwaukee having no money? That's shocking.
Right? But the manufacturer was like, yeah, no, we're not going to play that game. And if you don't want to pay for all the engines you want, then I'll find someone who will. And they sold them to the South Shore.
Yep.
And when they started selling engines, they were, actually, we'll pay for them. You don't sell any more of them.
I love how South Shore of all railroads won, like not tiny interurban, but just the last interurban. I was like, yo, well, what do you mean? Huge Russian freight engine? Yes, that's what I mean.
What was I think IRAM did, speaking of like Russian for a really brief thing, I think IRAM did a special photo shoot, which was like they're all the Russian engines together. So like the Decapod and Little Joe for a photo shoot for engines that should have went to Russia but stayed here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a funny trend.
It's the hammer and sickle photo.
Yes. What's the Doofenshmirtz quote? I have only 2 nickels, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Yeah. It's funny you were talking about very large electrics and talking about something very large all the way back on the East Coast. I have to bring up this engine because if I don't, I love it, and one of our friends loves it as well. It's one of if not the biggest 464 Hudson. There were several of them, but the most well-known versions of these were the L1 C&O Yellow Belly Hudsons.
What's that? I've never heard
What's
of that.
I've never. It's this
What is yellow belly?
It's this banana thing. I don't know.
Streamline Hudson.
Yellow
So
belly,
you're
is
talking
that a
about the
fish?
I think you're talking about the Hiawatha, actually.
Oh yes. No. There's of course the C&O Yellow Belly, the 490 being the most well-known cab number that now sits up in Baltimore at the B&O Museum. It's a very, very tall, large, streamlined Hudson. It's kind of interesting because it combines very smooth streamlining with the fluting that you would normally see on passenger cars. And it was also very interesting because it also shared streamlining with a very large experimental turbine, a steam turbine, being the M1 turbine, the baseball bat everyone calls it. I hate that
M1. I know, I did too. It's so cool.
And it's just so cool. It's this big yellow streamlined steam turbine with this very cube of a tender, and just a very interesting streamlined design in general. I can't really think of any other streamliner that shares this kind of reversed wedge shape. It's
really just the T1, like that's kind of it, and even then it's not really that pronounced as the L1 is.
Oh yeah, the L1 definitely has a very, very aggressive front end stance, and we've now learned recently through our research and with friends that there were many different paint kind of variations in terms of the color of orange and yellow, different logo sizes. Apparently it pulled freight during some testing.
Yes.
And so just through all of this, it's a very interesting engine, and it's just beloved by any C&O fan, and I love it. It's kind of the picture, the poster engine for the C&O. Every railroad has its creme de la creme of engine that everybody knows. It's icons, yeah. And the Yellow Belly is definitely the icon of the C&O. And our friend Isaac loves the Yellow Belly, and so do I. But I give Isaac the throne of
he wins King Yellow Belly. Absolutely.
He's the number one Yellow Belly guy. But hopefully here soon, maybe a manufacturer will make it again. I know Third Rail made it, and Lino made it years ago, but hopefully someone makes it again.
We can always hope.
Yeah. I guess we'll have to see on that one.
Madar, I'm sorry, real quick. Madar, did you ever get one in HO? Do you still want one?
I am looking for one, yes.
Oh, you have to.
Get
They're
the
so
yellow
good.
one. Please get the yellow one.
Yeah, get the
Don't,
yellow one,
don't get the
please.
orange one. Get the yellow one.
Don't get the orange one. Get the yellow one, please.
Right.
The orange is
Uh,
just a little too much.
Yeah, and the reason for that is obviously I'm a huge lover of streamlined steam engines, like period. But Johnny and I got to visit that museum. First of all, awesome museum, and we got to see the Yellow Belly Hudson in person, and I was just like blown away. I'm like, this thing is freaking awesome. Just very, very impressive, and I don't know, that color scheme. I don't know. I mean, silver and yellow, you know. So
Yeah.
I mean, that
It's
works
like the
for
Blue
me.
Goose. It's so unique, you know.
It's
Mhm.
it's just a very, very interesting combo, and that it's something that we've kind of been saying it, but we haven't just kind of straight up said it. It's all about being flashy, and sometimes it's just overall Art Deco design, but sometimes it's the colors. Like if the Yellow Belly would have just been black or gray, like it wouldn't have done anything. But you give it a color, and it's really flashy, and that's what catches your eye. The Blue Goose, the Yellow Belly, things like the A-class Atlantics for the Hiawatha, and the F7 Hudsons for the Hiawatha, and it's all about being flashy, and that's really what Streamliners were about. And I'm saying flashy, and the thing that comes to mind when I think really, really flashy and just kind of crazy, and it's become this slowly overdone thing in 3-rail O-scale. The 49er paint scheme,
Yes, the
and
49er.
engines. There was several. I believe, right, John? There was the Pacific, and then there was a mountain.
I think there was a
it
mountain too. It's actually weird to see the real like they've done that scheme so many times. It's weird to see it on the actual engines now,
Right.
because Sid, you have a 49er, a brass one. It was, and I was like, God, that's so weird to see it now, like actually on the
Right.
real engine.
And-
I think the other engines wear it better. I'm actually not a fan of the 49er at all.
It's funny. It's because that the 49er, the actual 49. See, here's the issue. There's a difference between the 49er and then the paint scheme. Like I consider the two engines, the Mountain and the Pacific, the 49ers. I'm saying 49ers a lot. I don't know if it's because of football or I don't know. But the 49er Pacific shares that kind of weird bathtub shape that the Mercury has, and I think that's why both of them are kind of like, it's just like
the West Coast Mercury, exactly.
It's the West Coast Mercury, and it's definitely strange. And the more we've been talking about Streamliners, and the more I've been talking with you and Johnny and a bunch of people, I think I've decided that I can't let that 49er go. I can't let it go.
Want to support your favorite O-Scale podcast and rock some awesome merch? Well, now you can. We've teamed up with Redbubble.com and have come up with a great selection of gear that you can get right now. They have everything from shirts, hoodies, stickers, mugs, bags, you name it. Heck, you could even get a wall clock with us on it. All this great stuff and more at Redbubble.com. Links are down in the show notes, so grab yourself some gear and rock some awesome podcast merch.
Oh, that's cool, man. I'm glad you're keeping that.
I want to say this now. When I see the 49er in brass, raw brass, it is the most stunning streamlined engine I've seen. It's the combination of the curves, the roller bearing rods, all of it. It's beautiful. And then you look at it with color, and it's the ugliest thing in the world. If James May had designed a locomotive and painted it, it's just brown.
It's just brown. It's some who's come out the
very unpleasant.
Very unpleasant.
It is such a brown does not belong in a streamlined steam locomotive. It's just the worst color choices ever. I respect it for the fantasy schemes and all that. I like it, if you will. I've got Stockholm syndrome where I tolerate the thing, but I look at it and I'm like, I look at it as the full proper scale versions are beautiful. Like the Weaver model that Sid has is fantastic. But I can never get past the brown and the red and the yellow. It's called the hot dog for a reason.
Yeah.
I just, and we can use this as a transition because to kind of have some fun here because we are getting to a point where we're going for a little bit long. But to me, that is one of the ugliest paint schemes out there. It is horrendous.
Yep.
Like every single thing an art, like an artist will tell you do not do, they did.
Yes.
It
It literally checks every box of being awful. Like,
what's worse is it's not the accent color. The brown is the main boiler
Yeah.
and tender color. It's the ketchup and mustard.
it
that
should have been
accent it.
reversed. Why didn't they reverse it?
It's so weird. And
Can
so
I yeah,
it's
go-
so
oh, sorry, say go ahead.
strange. It is.
Oh, no.
It is really like a hot dog, and you know the Weaver one's definitely a darker color, but man, the new Lionel colors, which are very, very out there, and it's it's cool they're doing it, but the Lionel colors are definitely brown and browner.
Well, fun.
It's like they added racing stripes to like a chocolate Easter egg.
Yeah. Can we? I'm gonna transition over to Midwest real quick for you guys. Because my main dislike, I have to hate on one thing. I think I'm gonna be good. I'm not gonna hate on anything too much. But the CNW, the Chicago Northwestern, no, trust me, had two of the most polarizing, in my opinion, schemes. You have the E4s, which are one of the most gorgeous, beautiful, underappreciated, and understated locomotives ever. They are so beautiful. That green with the lining is so beautiful. And then you have the yellow jacket.
I know you were going to say that. Yep.
You're for a second there, I was like, "You're getting on thin ice there, John. You better."
Oh my
watch
God!
this."
Sorry, guys. I know you love CNW, but the yellow jacket Pacifics
jacket,
are
yeah.
one of the most hideous, in my opinion. I know I'm going to offend people. I don't care. It's bad
That's okay.
design.
I like it. I like the yellow jacket, but that's just
you
me.
can have them.
I like. Yeah, I don't know what
I
it
love
is.
the E4 so much.
Mustard and relish.
I think the yellow jacket, part of the reason I can kind of see where you're coming from, John, it's one of those cases where the E4 is its own thing. It is unapologetically its own paint scheme with its, it looks great. The yellow jacket, well, it doesn't offend my eyes nearly as much as the 49er. Like, I could actually see myself owning one of these things. But it's one of those cases where you took the diesel paint scheme and you slapped it on a steam locomotive and hoped that it worked. It's like one of those kind of like grocery store train sets where they're like, yes, Burlington Northern, put that on a steam locomotive.
Yep, it's Tyco. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
I feel so bad for saying these things. I'm so sorry, Madar. I feel awful.
They repainted a Metro like that, John. So
no, those look good. They look great on diesels. It's not the theme. It's just that it's on that engine with that flat nose.
No, absolutely.
God,
I'm not gonna. No, of course. We all like different things. So, interesting thing about the 40. Going just really fast back to the 49er. They kind of share the same kind of logic that Santa Fe had. It was just like, let's make one streamlined steam engine, and that was it. Like you look at UP, who historically had a lot of steam engines. They were just, let's make one, and then you have Chicago Northwestern. Obviously, UP, absorbed Chicago Northwestern, but Chicago Northwestern had two in their lineup. So, and really quickly on why we call it the Chicago hot dog. So, and again, I'm not 100% on this, but there is a hot dog manufacturer, but there is a company that's called Red Hot Chicago, and their logo is very much close to the 49er scheme. So if you look up Red Hot Chicago, I think that's why people think it's the Chicago hot dog, because the logo is very reminiscent of this long red hot dog with this yellow and black lettering and this checkerboarding underneath. It's obviously very, very Chicago-ish.
I can see that. Yeah. I can see that. And we also, I'd give some credit to Sterling, Ravenhawk 6910, former guest of the show. He popularized that as well with his posts on his YouTube
True.
channel when he had
Yeah.
the hot dog challenger. But I think if I'm really thinking about it in terms of just history of Streamliners that we discussed tonight, I've always wondered why the heck did they choose brown? Because even the pasture train it pulled wasn't really in that aggressive red, yellow, brown paint
That
scheme.
was great.
But you know what is brown from Union Pacific's paint schemes in past?
M10,000.
City M10,000,
M10,000.
City of Denver.
Mm-hmm.
That's
But those
a good call.
work
So-
so well.
Good call, Jenny.
Yeah.
So
It was.
yeah, but they didn't just throw they didn't throw red in the middle.
No, and brown wasn't the primary color. It was the accent. Most of the train is yellow. It's like
They added Jeremy Clarkson racing stripes. There's no way around it.
they did.
It just,
So
it just makes it faster.
It does.
It's
makes
just
it faster.
faster.
20%
John-
faster speed boost.
So now that John and I have said our ones that get under our skin, how just for fun, how about you, Matt R and Sid? Which Streamliners are you guys not huge fans of?
I'm gonna say one that I own and I love, but then I'm gonna say the one that kind of looks like it, but I just dislike. So
Okay.
the one that I do like is I do like the Reading Crusader. It's got an awesome name, and it's again just classic Streamliner, fluting, silver and blue. Just it's kind of funny. It's also kind of different from Reading. Back then I think Reading was yellow and black, and so it was weird to have blue and silver, and so it was kind of different. And I love the Crusader. Again, very interesting train. Observation cars at both ends, where you didn't have to turn the train around or anything. You just pulled one of the engines around and you hooked back up, and there you go. But a Streamliner that I don't really like because it's funky looking, and it looks like a cheap copy of actually kind of a diesel. Is, I don't know if this is the name. Is it the Aeolus? What's the
The Aeolus.
Yeah,
The Burlington.
it's like take everything about CB&Q and throw it on a steam engine. It's just very strange. I'm like, are you trying to be a Zephyr? Are you trying to be something else? Are you trying to be like, and it looks kind of like a Crusader because it's got that same kind of slanted front and everything, but it's just not really one of my favorites in general. It's just so strange. It's not so much because it has ugly proportions or anything like that. It's more so just like, I guess they didn't really have a paint scheme, but the logo on the front and just the way it looks, it's like you're throwing too much. You're like almost overdoing it. Just leave it silver, and that's all you need.
You know what it looks like almost to me? If you're going into the same family of trains that look exactly the same as that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the City of Memphis? John might know.
Yes.
I don't know
Oh
if he
my
does.
God, the city of Memphis. Oh God, I forgot about the city of Memphis. Oh, awful, awful, awful. Yes.
The City of Memphis is just that, but blue.
Which
It's such a. It's like it. It's a good paint scheme. I'll give it that. But it's just such a. It's like the Rexall train and the
Oh yikes!
Dry
Oh, I
Fish
forgot
Oh
about
wow!
slash
the
the
Aeolus.
The Memphis is. I just looked this up. Whoa, that is an engine of sorts.
yes,
Wow.
it is a train. Which is funny because isn't that Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis?
I think so.
Yes.
Who also had two of the best designs of Streamliners. One being preserved, 576, the stripe, and
Yep.
also the Dixie Flagler. I know everybody hates the Dixie Flagler. That's my one I stand out with. I'm sorry. It's cool.
It's a cool engine. I will give you that. But I think the reason I give it a pass because at least in black and white, it looks like you took a GS and you smooshed it really small.
It does.
And you put it outside of an amusement park to carry the kitties.
Chibi GS.
It is quite literally a chibi GS. But how about you, Matt R? What's one that you're not a huge fan of?
Yeah, so we're going to cross the ocean for this.
Ooh,
And
good
first of all,
transition.
just to know, like, I think European steam engines are fantastic. Like, I love them. They're just really interesting looking, and they have these really, unique curves to them and everything. But I will say, you can Google this now. This I believe it's a German. It's called the Duchess of Hamilton. Holy crap! This thing is just like, what were they thinking? My gosh, it's like a
Oh, that's a British engine.
Yeah, Dutch.
okay, it's a British engine. Yeah,
but there are German ones that look like it that are also ugly. I agree.
It's like a Twinkie. It's like a Hostess Twinkie.
Oh my gosh, it does look like a
This is what it is. It's a Hostess Twinkie on the racetrack. And again, this is nothing against European steam engines, but this takes like streamlining engine to the next level of just like,
yeah.
Shouldn't we have some edging? Nah, just make it as round as possible.
It's too streamlined.
Yeah,
almost.
Before we go on to since we're across the ocean, I know we're gonna probably talk about that some. I don't know very much, but something that this is a thing I don't like too much about European steam, and then especially their streamliners, is I think what makes American, or just it's not just American, just stuff on the other side of the pond here in the United States and just North America in general, is the fact that we have centered headlights allows for this flow and it works lots of the time. But the fact that they use lanterns, this Duchess of Hamilton, there's nothing to obstruct the flow of the casing. So like you said, it just looks like a Twinkie.
That's a good point, Sid.
I look at it and I think of like the hard candies, like a butterscotch your grandmother would give you. It's like that if you polish it for like 3 hours.
Gosh.
And I say this now. We are poking a little bit fun at the British trains, but keep in mind that we are all British train fans here.
Oh yes,
John,
we are.
John,
that's why we're allowed to hate on them, because we
Hornby.
Yeah, but like didn't one of those coronation glasses come to Canada?
It came to America. There's a photo of it with the royal blue on the relay viaduct.
Yep. Yep. It's
with a bell on it.
It looks. Oh my god! I forgot the bell.
If you want to laugh, everybody, look up a photo of the coronation with its American stuff on it. Not good.
It's like a mole. It's like it has a mole on it.
The giant like bell and the giant headlight. For the host, I'm gonna share that photo for Matt R. I don't think he's seen it, but yeah, it kind of blends in with the B&O engine there.
It does. It also shows you how big they are too. Or the British ones being tiny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the royal blue is definitely very European-y, and of course, how can we not talk about European and just any other kind of streamliner from across the pond and the various countries. Of course, we've all watched Thomas, and so we all know about the everyone knows Spencer, but that's just the tip of that's just the beginning. John, I know you know a lot about this stuff. What are your I guess maybe favorites, or maybe your least favorite European?
We're gonna have a fun discussion here real quick. I promise I won't, because international trains, I will. You know me. I will go on ad infinitum until you have to drag me kicking and screaming, pulling duct tape out.
We will have a future episode coming up soon on this topic, guys. Yeah. So for listeners, we're going to be brief with this, but we will go into this more in depth because this is a whole episode discussion of its own.
It's funny. There's only of all the international streamliners, I really only like maybe 2 or 3 of them. Just throwing classes out if you guys want to look up photos, you guys on the show here, and also all you guys listening. Best in terms of we'll start with the best list because it's shorter. Any of the Mitsubishi built SL8 class Pacifics, specifically the ones with the central lamps on the nose, I think are gorgeous. Asian Steam, they definitely like blending and doing semi-streamlining. If you look at the Japanese, the original, I think it's a C53 class. You want to talk about a doorstop? Oh my gosh. Very, very odd looking. But the Mitsubishi SL8 Pacifics and the I want to say, who were they built by? I can't remember the builder, but the French U1 class, technically it's a Hudson, it's a 232 class over there. But you want to talk about an engine that looks, again, that's a semi-streamliner. That thing looks like a medieval weapon. the way it looks. Seriously, all you guys look up a U1 class SNCF Hudson. It looks like a freaking medieval weapon as a locomotive.
I'm looking at the C-53, the Japanese.
The C-53,
locomotive.
thank you. Yes.
It looks like if you turn. I hate the fact. The guys who know me will laugh at this because it pains me to make this comparison. It genuinely looks like you made Joe Swanson into a steam locomotive.
What the, hey, Peter, what the hell? You turned me into a locomotive. Oh my God, Peter. And when we talk about, you want to talk about ugliest of like the ugly, okay. I want all of you to do this right now because I don't think anyone else has seen this here. Look up an Iraqi Railways PC class Pacific.
Can you spell that?
Do that right now, all of you listening and on the show right now. Look up what a PC class Iraqi Pacific looks like.
It's got a mustache for a cow catcher. It's got like a old school like interesting. It's very.
Who turned a butter cloche into a locomotive?
Right?
Oh, wow.
Not good.
Gosh, that is just like, whoa. What's up with the curved running board? I'm so.
It looks like it looks like an amusement park streamliner. Like they scaled it down badly.
It looks like I would use a steam engine to quite literally steam my pants before I go out. Like it's like an iron.
It does look like an iron. Oh my God. And this is not like a cultural thing, honestly. This engine just happens to be ugly. The Middle East has some of the most gorgeous steam engines ever built. Lots of German heritage. Their colors, decoration, they're gorgeous. That engine just does not hit though. Like
I had to purge my search history now.
I actually just found a 3-rail. I'm gonna have to send this to you guys. Someone made a 3-rail model of this.
Oh, I think I see it.
Of a PC class?
It's great.
Yeah,
it's green. I'm gonna send
found
it.
it. Oh my gosh, that looks better than the real engine.
Well, John has now blessed us with these images.
Yeah, have fun with that in your brains forever. I can't forget it, and neither can y'all. So you're welcome. Have fun.
Oh, wow.
But no, there are some really cool foreign engines out there, and we'll touch on those more in the future. Bringing it back to America real quick. I'm sorry, did you guys want to discuss any more on foreign stuff? If you guys had any opinions on stuff?
I think we should save that for our future episode. Otherwise, we're going long in the tooth here with tonight's episode.
Yeah, we should probably start to wrap up a little bit. We're at 140 already.
The one thing I wanted to bring back to America here to finish off, just because we have Midwest guys here, we have the Hiawathas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those apparently, according to Steam people, I have talked with some serious Steam people, the original A classes, which Lionel is coming out with very soon, can't wait to see those. I'm sure we're all excited. Apparently those, a lot of Steam enthusiasts who are like big into international Steam, consider those to be the A classes to be almost the pinnacle of American Steam tech. Those engines specifically, just because of the way they were designed. Front driver rod Atlantics that were designed to be, because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, weren't those like the first ones that were regularly scheduled to designed to be over 100 miles per hour on the regular?
Mm-hmm.
I think I've heard that. Yeah, that's such a bold move to do an Atlantic at that point in time.
Yeah, they're great engines, and the fact again, the Midwesterners, guys, you got so much cool stuff out there. I'm so jelly.
Yeah,
was it the F7s were beautiful?
The F7 Baltics are definitely I mean, they're right up there with the Blue Goose for me. Like they just the colors just blend so well on that just like really beautiful streamline, smooth, body style that they have.
The was it the emergency light on the Mars light on the top?
Yeah.
Doesn't Weavers have that?
Yeah, there were like different like variants over the years of them, and at some point Weaver did a variant where it had the the Mars light or emergency light, whatever it is.
But all just a fantastic looking locomotive. I think actually for anybody who has the MTH version, I know finding really nice cars is hard. I think the new cars will match that perfectly.
Yeah, I think so as well.
So, but lots of good discussion, gents. I think it's a good time to wrap it up there. Lots of good discussions, and John, thank you and curse you for showing us all those weird international engines.
Yep, you're welcome. I gotta live with them. You do too now. Have fun.
I will send you my therapy bill at the end of the week.
I'll make you look at pictures of the sunbeam.
Just just put a little sunshine in your mouth.
Oh, Sid, why? I deserve it. Nope, I'll be Hades. Okay, well, fine. I deserve that. Oh God. Oh my God. I completely. Brain is turning. I feel the brain cells slowly killing themselves. But yes, it is definitely time to finish up, guys. As much as fun as it would be to continue on, we have to bring it to a close here. So we obviously have, our amazing community we want to always promote. We have an awesome Discord server, and we want to shout out some fantastic people who boosted the server and helped us keep the lights on here at Miniature Models Podcast. So who do we have this time around for our boosters?
All right, for those server boosters, again, huge thanks to the Rambles. Hard work pays off. Tim's Trainz, ST70 Train Fan, SDiv_Tim, Dashing Dan's Trainz, _ Everyday is Life _ Thank you so much for helping us boost the server. We really appreciate it.
Enjoying this week's topic? You can join in on the conversation too on our community Discord server. We have a lot of different discussion channels, ranging from showing off your collection, discussing the latest and greatest in the industry, a buy and sell forum, and even a voice channel you can hop on call and talk trains with us late into the night. We're a little over 300 strong and we'll love to have you join us too. Check out the invite link to our community Discord down in the show notes. Read and acknowledge the rules, and introduce yourself and start chatting. We have a great team of moderators who make sure all are welcomed and respected. So what are you waiting for? Come on down and join us in on the fun, and let's talk some trains.
Absolutely, guys. You guys are what make us, we do this all for you guys. We love it. We have so much fun doing this. And tonight was a fantastic show. I can see our stop is coming up next, and we must disembark. If you'd like to get more of us off the air, where can folks find everybody? Matt R., where can folks find you, sir?
Yep, I'm on YouTube at WC Monterey Road, Instagram at WC Monterey Road, and on Facebook at WC Monterey Road. And I will have a video quite soon. It will be a layout update video on where I'm at, what I'm doing, why I'm in HO, and lots of other little cool things.
I'm looking forward to that. Johnny, where can folks find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Audamus. That's AUDAMUS, where you can find a video that I am working on. Hopefully, it'll be out by maybe the end of this month. We all know how my production schedule goes. I will also be doing a layout tour. It's something you guys have been asking me for quite literally years at this point, and I want to take you guys on a tour of my layout, see what's changed, and explain why things don't look like they did 2 years ago. You can also find me on Instagram at Audamus_Trainz and Facebook at the same name, where you can find me posting pictures a lot more than you can find me on my YouTube channel. And last but not least, you can find me on the Miniature Models Podcast Community Discord server, where I'm reading and responding to all your posts and making a fool of myself in the voice chat. So come on down. It's lots of fun.
Fantastic. And Sid, our wonderful guest host, where can folks find you, sir?
You can find me on YouTube under the YouTube channel Sid's Trainz. You can also find me on Instagram under Sydney's Trainz. And then you can also find me on the podcast Discord server under Sid's Trainz. As I said at the beginning of the podcast, I hope to have some videos out here soon on some more restoration kind of workshop videos, and hopefully some more content on the ever-growing topic and technology of Bluenami DCC, and specifically in 3-rail O scale. So hopefully I will have some more content out for you all soon.
Fantastic. Can't wait to see that stuff too. You can find our buddy Matt Z at Matt's Hobbies on Instagram, and at Matt Train Lover 9943 on his YouTube and Facebook there. And you can find me, John Schwartz, at RetroMikado96 on Instagram and RetroMikado on YouTube. I promise I have got my big videos coming. They are on the way, almost finished editing. Cannot wait to share those with you guys. And you can find me as well in our community Discord server, where we are having a good time, as Johnny always says, talking with everybody and shooting the breeze and just having a great time. So come on down. It is a great place to talk with a bunch of amazing people who, as we said, we all do this all for you guys. So we really appreciate everything you do for us. Guys, that was a great show tonight. I was looking forward to this for so long. I'm so glad we talked about this, and I just love having you guys around to talk about stuff. We all have such great conversations.
Same here, dude. Loved it. It was a great time.
Yeah, this was great.
Yep, I think the amount of time that we spent talking about Streamline steam engines kind of speaks for itself. So, great topic,
Absolutely. Guys. Thank you for coming up with it, Matt R. That was all your idea.
Well, I wasn't trying to brag or anything. I was thinking, what an awesome topic, man! Whoever thought about that, you deserve a medal.
Genius would do that. No, man, seriously, you were the catalyst for that. So great deal, man. Guys, thank you so much for listening. It's been great doing this for you, and I wish you fully open throttles and fully pulled back cutoffs all your days.
Have a good night, guys.
Take care,
Good night,
y'all.
everyone.
Good night.